Hi, my name's David Reid and I'm one of the course advisors here at Point Blank. This is Danny Lewis, who's one of our lead course developers. And we're here to answer any questions you might have about Point Blank Music School and the courses that we offer. Welcome to Friday Forum Live. So hi, hello, welcome along. Thanks for joining us for Friday Forum Live. This week we'll be answering your questions as normal. So anything you want to know about the courses that we offer, about some of the content on the courses or how they work, anything you've kind of wanted to ask, feel free to tap in your questions and we'll answer them live. Danny will also be walking you through some tutorial material. So I think this week we're going to be looking at some new disco kind of flavoured stuff. So yeah, I'll hand you over to Danny. And in the meantime, get those questions in and we'll answer them as soon as we can.
So the whole concept of the demonstration that I'm doing this week is to give you a feel of the kind of stuff that the masterclass is all about. So when you're on an online course, you do a masterclass with your tutor every week for an hour. And I'm going to cover something here, you know, every week you'll see your tutor do a little demonstration about something that's related to the subject matter of the week. But I'm going to do a little thing here. We're going to build together a little basic idea based on that sort of new disco sound that's popular at the moment. So, you know, the new disco thing, it's not necessarily disco in a traditional sense. It's something that's got the kind of essence and flavour of some of the old things. And what I'm going to start off with is I'm going to start off with a beat and we're going to get a basic beat on the go. I'm going to create like a bass line or something. I'm going to use a synth and create a sound and introduce some of the sort of dubby effects that you would associate with this kind of flavour. And we're also going to record some claps. I've got the mic set up here and we're going to record some live claps on top. So hopefully we're going to get that done in a relatively quick time. So I'm going to start off with the drums and I'm picking a drum machine which is a real classic, which is the Oberheim DMX. And in fact, inside the Ableton library, there is a drum rack. And this is basically a selection of kits. The classic, where is it? The DMX is here. So you've got all of the classic drum sounds of the DMX. It was used on a lot of tunes back in the day. So it's very much a drum sound that's popular at the moment for this kind of sound. And I'm going to take the tempo down a bit, maybe about 115. I'm just going to have a listen, see how that feels. No, I feel I want to go down a bit actually. So maybe about 112 for the tempo. And this kit has got some very characteristic sounds on it. So you would have heard a lot of these in different tracks. The kick drum, snare, rim shot, clap on there, toms, the hats, very distinctive sounds used on a lot of classic tunes. I suppose really the most popular tune that most people associate with that sound is Blue Monday, which is the New Order track. So that was using this particular drum machine. Story goes that they got the drum machine and they created the whole tune because they just got that drum machine and they were playing around with it. So it spun the whole tune idea off of that. So we're going to create a little beat here, just going to create an empty clip. And I'm just going to click into the grid here to create the actual programming. So we're on the 16th grid here. And I'm just going to get a kick on every beat. I'm just going to leave it running. Just going to take my click off. And I'm going to keep it simple, like deliberately simple to start off with. So we're going to be getting some sounds here like the snare. So real simple, literally a kick on every beat, snare on every other beat. I'm going to start affecting these things soon. And let's get, for example, the open hi-hat to trigger at the end here. Just going to get in the mix and bring the level of the hi-hat down. Going to get the closed hi-hat. Let's find that, that's over here. Just going to put this icon on so we can hear these. So I'm just going to trigger this. And just a really simple little pattern. But what I'm going to do with this, just going to show you, I'm going to bring down the level of these hats here. I'm going to bring them down in velocity so we've got a little texture that's different. So it just livens it up a bit. So I'm keeping it deliberately simple at the moment. The snare, what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to put some reverb on there. So let's go and find the effects. Just going to come down, get a reverb on here. I want it to be quite big, not too dominating. I'm going to take away the high cut because I want it to be quite bright as well. Just going to take it to the high quality. Also, just so I don't get any clipping, I'm going to stick a limiter on the master there, and just going to bring my drum level down a little bit here because we're going to add some other things as well. So that'll do for the moment. What I want to do is get that real trademark sort of clap, sort of decayed kind of delay flavor going on. So the clap here, that's a real distinctive sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set on this a ping pong delay. So you've got this real kind of dubby sort of disco flavor going on. So I'm going to record something in there. In fact, I had that running on overdub, so that's gone in, which is pretty cool actually. So let me have a listen to that. Now that's good, but I don't want it to be occurring every single beat. I'm going to keep the loose timing. I don't know if you guys can see that, but if you look at the actual grid, you can see that the timing is out. I played that in as a live performance, and what it is, if you want this sound to sound quite organic, it's quite good to have a mixture of the programmed stuff and also live stuff on top as well. So I'm going to keep that where it is because I like how I played it in. So that's going on there, but it's a little bit too regular. I'm going to take the length to 2 bars. I'm just going to select everything and duplicate it and just move it over to the right position so we can listen to that. That's 2 bars now. And let's take the claps out so that they're only occurring on the second part of that sequence with the 2 bars. So this is the kind of thing, it's kind of dubby sort of textures with the classic drum machine kind of vibe. So I'm going to work and move forward now. We're going to start looking like a bass sound. Now, the bass sounds on this kind of a sound are very characteristic. They tend to be sawtooth based textures. So I'm going to set up a new MIDI track and I'm just going to name this bass and I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to bring down an instrument, and I think the logical choice for this would be the analog, which is it's an analog synth. You know, this is the kind of stuff that would have been used back in the day. The tone at the moment, the sawtooth is a good source sound, but what I want to do is I want to start shaping this. So let's take the release a bit shorter because I want it to be a bass patch. Just taking the octave down. So maybe something like that as a starting point, but I'm going to shape the sound. So I'm going to show you first. So that's the kind of vibe that I'm thinking about, but I'm going to start shaping the tone. So we need to turn the filter on, and at the moment this is set to a low pass filter. This is a 12 dB per octave slope. If I bring down the frequency, you can feel it getting warmer, but we're kind of missing the kind of bright, plucky front to the sound that we need. So what I need to do is to come down to the filter envelope amount here. So what I've got is a nice bright front of the sound, and it becomes warmer after. The settings for the envelope are here, so I could take that tighter. Now what I want to do also, because it's a bass line, I don't want to get any overlaps occurring, is to basically switch the amount of voices down to 1. So I'm going over here, just clicking where you've got the volume section and dropping down the voices to mono, so we don't get the overlaps. So something along those kind of lines. I'm going to see how that feels. I'm going to record something in and then I'm going to tweak it afterwards. So let's see how it feels on top of the beat. So I'm going to get that in and tidy it up. I made a little bit of a mistake, so I'm just going to change the start point here. I'm going to quantize it. Let's have a look. So that's working quite nicely, but it needs some customization. Just going to have a look, bring up the resonance a bit. It's going to add a little kind of fizziness to the sound. And also what I want to do, because this is very common, is to set it up with a delay on the bass. So we're going to put a ping pong delay here. So you can hear that echoing off now. It's got this nice kind of flavour to it. And I'm just going to solo it so you can hear it. This is quite safe to do with a ping pong delay because this particular delay has got an EQ. So you can see it's rolling off the low frequencies on the left hand side. Just keeping this kind of mid area, which is working nicely. I'll take that off. You can see how it really brings it alive. You know, it gives it a real interesting flavour to it. And at certain points in the track, you could, for example, adjust the feedback. So it's quite short at the moment. That's just setting the amount of echoes. So if you want to get like a build up or something, so taking the feedback up, you could even take the dry wet mix higher too. So this kind of stuff for a breakdown would be really good. You know, you can feel the energy building up, and then I'll bring everything back. So all of this stuff is great to map to MIDI controls, you know, to bring it alive in terms of the actual structure and the performance. So that's like a nice little foundation. I'm just going to see if anyone's got any questions at the moment.
Not yet.
No? Okay. So in terms of other things that we'd want to get for this kind of a sound, I would say we'd want to get some kind of synth or some kind of lead kind of texture. So I'm going to leave that running. And of course this kind of style really does thrive on lots of different variations, lots of effects treatments and stuff. We're not going to have enough time to cover all of that, but you know, consider what I was saying about automating the effects amount and all that kind of stuff. That will give you the variation. So the other thing you could do, of course, is to stick on top a filter. So I'm just going to drop this on the drums. So you could just experiment with different textures for breakdowns. So you can imagine that that could be a certain point in the tune. And then bringing that all back, getting all the high frequency energy back in the mix again. So what I'm looking for really now is to get some kind of synth element on top, something that could work quite nicely as an extra ingredient. So I'm going to create like a polysynth kind of sound. So what we'll do is set up a new MIDI track, and I'm going to go for the same instrument again. The analog's going to be really good for this. So just thinking about the notes that I'm using. So I'm going to have a think about the actual notes that I'm using in a second. Just going to get the sustain level a bit higher on here. Bring the volume down a bit. And what I might do is actually do that as a sustained sound. I'm going to thin it out. Use the EQ3, roll off the bass. I'm going to sidechain this as well, so I'm going to get, basically the compressor is going to be ducking the level of this. So let me just record that in first. Just going to set the start point of that clip, quantize it. So probably, where are we? So 4, 8, just going to bring this down a bit earlier. Just try and pick up the end of that. I'm going to move this over because it's not registering. Well, let me see. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that for the moment because the side chaining, you're not going to hear that crossover point. So if we drop on the compressor, we're going to open up the sidechain routing. So we're going to turn it on. Audio from the drum kit, the DMX. Going to bring it in with the kick. Take the attack fast. So we've got a nice kind of pulsing flavour now that's creating a real interesting kind of lurching vibe to that. So the other thing that I'll do with that is give it some spatial movement. So something like a phaser could be good because it's got that kind of 70s sort of vibe to it. I'm going to drop this in. Now, with this particular phaser, if you want to get the movement of the sound, you need to actually engage the LFO. So this is on the far right hand side. So I'm going to increase the amount. So we're feeding into the LFO now. And I'm going to solo this so you can hear it. So I'm going to go for the maximum amount. I'm going to slow the rate. Increase the feedback. So we've got this real nice kind of sort of 70s-ish kind of movement to the sound. I'm going to take the number of poles up. So let's see how that sounds now. And also, just to give it a little bit of space, I'm going to drop on a ping pong delay on the synth. So let me just name this. Going to solo. Got some questions?
No questions as yet. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll hop in here and I'll just give you a quick kind of idea of what you're watching on screen. As Danny mentioned earlier on, what we're trying to do here is basically give you a flavour of what you can expect on an online course in terms of the live masterclass. So if you're watching this and thinking, yeah, this is great, you know, I'm watching a track being constructed live, then that's exactly what you can expect on a course basically. Each week there's an hour-long session with your tutor where you'll be seeing on screen something exactly like this. Your tutor basically laying out a technique or a process live on screen in front of yourself and the other members of the class. So that's what we're trying to give you a flavour of basically. If you've got any questions about how that works or any of that kind of thing, then obviously that's what we're here for. Just paste them in the comments section and we'll do our best to answer them for you. If you're not familiar with the online course setup, the other thing you need to know about is the weekly assignments. So once you've watched a demonstration like this and you've had some time to kind of work through the material, which you've got access to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you upload a project that you've been working on. So you know, that would be a Logic or Ableton project file. You upload it at the end of the week and then your tutor would go through that project and basically give you a one-to-one feedback video based on your work. So it's not just the case that, you know, you work through a bunch of tutorial material that we give you and, you know, you kind of progress on your own. You're actually supported throughout the whole process by someone like Danny, who's a professional producer. So you can expect not just one of these, you know, kind of live tutorials each week. You can also expect a whole bunch of other material that's accessible to you 24/7, and this kind of unique one-to-one feedback video. We call these DVRs, direct video response, and you can see some examples on the website. If you check out the How It Works section on the website, you'll get a clearer picture of you know, exactly how that plays out on the course. So if you've got any questions about any of that kind of aspect of the course, because it is unique, we're the only people that do this. So yeah, if you've got any questions about that and how it works and how it's going to work for you and your music, then get in touch, post us a comment, and we'll do our best to answer it for you.
Someone's asked, John's asked, is this course for beginners?
We do offer courses for beginners. We offer lots of courses for beginners. If you're new to Ableton, the place to start would be the Ableton production course. It's an 8-week course that will guide you through all the essentials. So if you're watching this and thinking, looks a little bit advanced, this guy really looks like he knows what he's doing, then you're right, he does. He's been doing this for 20 years. But we teach lots and lots of beginners, and we'll start right at the beginning. So as you saw, Danny started this course by this track by just putting together a kind of drum beat and starting from there. The courses work exactly the same way. So the first thing you look at is drum programming, and then we'll just gradually build your track over 8 weeks. So yeah, there's a beginner's course on Ableton, there's a beginner's course on Logic, there's also a beginner's course on Cubase. So no matter what software platform you're on, we can find something to get you started. Any other questions?
Not so far.
Okay, I'll pass you back to Danny and we'll see how this track's progressing.
So yeah, I mean, the other thing that I would personally feel that I want to do at the moment, add some percussion. A lot of these sort of new disco tracks have got metallic percussion, maybe like a go-go's or other things like that. So I've got 2 percussion kits here that are on the Impulse. So I'm going to bring these through and see what we got in terms of sounds. Just going to find the octave where they exist. In fact, let me just engage the MIDI. Right, here we go. Now that actually I think could sound quite nice at certain points on top of the beat. A big splash of reverb on there. So I'm going to do that, I'm going to record that in. So leave that running, and then maybe do this occurring every 4 bars. And then, so that needs to have a nice amount of reverb on it. So I'm going to really splash that out a bit. There's a reverb control on the instrument. So I'm going to take that out and see what it sounds like. Maybe going to add some more on top as well. Yeah, I want to make that bigger, so I'm not going to use the reverb that's in the actual instrument rack. I'm going to come on and I'm going to add some more reverb here. Just going to make this nice and big. Decay time really long. See how that sounds. Yeah, for me that's nice. There's a big expansive space to that. So that's what I'm going to call that, the blocks. I'm going to set up a new instrument. I'm going to bring on another instance of impulse, maybe the percussion too. See what we got. Okay, that's the kind of metallic percussion I was talking about, but I was looking for another tone as well. So what I might do on here is just see if there's another option, because I really want to get some other kind of percussive flavour on there. I'm going to take a look inside the drum rack. There is in fact a percussion section here. Let's try, I think that's going to be individual ones, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm wondering instead what I could do is I'm going to, instead of having this, I'm going to set this up with the drum rack. And on this, I'm going to try and find, on my hard disk, I have got a library of sounds, and I should be able to find something there. Have you got anything you can talk about whilst I'm
yeah, sure. Well,
just looking?
Terra Jumper sent a question in while you've been working away there. How do you guys get inspired? So we could maybe talk a little bit about the inspiration behind this track.
Yeah, I mean, this one, I've been listening to a lot of stuff recently. There's a guy I know, Grant Nelson, I don't know if you guys know him, he's a real legendary producer. He's got a tune out at the moment, and it's on his new label called Freeze Dried, and the track's called Time Tides or something like that, but it's one of these kind of sort of house and new disco hybrids. And so this thing with the big bass line, also that tune by Robert Rodriguez called I Got, which was massive last year. There's this kind of synth bass line kind of vibe going on, lots of sort of percussive elements like we've got going on here. So really, I would say that that's the inspiration, you know, listening to other people's tunes. And what happens is, you know, it's a technique that I've often said, you know, is a good one for my students, is if you're lacking in inspiration, take a tune that's out there, copy it as well as you can do. And what usually happens is you don't actually make something that's exactly the same. You end up veering off on a slightly different direction and making your own tune. And when you compare the two, at the end, you go, right, no, actually, I've got my own tune here. You know, this is similar, reflective of the original tune. So that's a thing that I would recommend. So this is literally, after listening to all these kind of tunes, this is the vibe that has started appearing in my head, you know, so that's how it works for me. I'd
go along with that as well. I think, you know, looking at other people's tracks and, you know, attempting to emulate what they've done is a really good place to start from. And as Danny says, what you end up with at the end is 9 times out of 10, you know, something that is unrecognisable compared to the track that you were using for inspiration. The one other thing, we're here for about another 10 minutes, I think. So if you've got any questions, now's the time to get them in. One thing I was going to talk to you about this week was the course programs that we offer. So again, if you've had a look at the website, you've probably got an idea that there's a whole range of courses, from beginners courses through to courses in mixing and mastering and so on. What we've started to do is combine those courses into programs, and what that allows you to do is follow a sort of step-by-step progression through the courses, and the key advantage of doing that is you save money. So it's much cheaper if you take a program and do a string of courses that way rather than sort of enroll on each one individually. So that's worth considering if you're sort of looking at courses and thinking, well, you know, I'm a beginner on Ableton Live, or I'm a beginner on Logic, but I also, you know, quite like the look of the Deep House course, and then maybe later on I'd like to learn about mixing. You can do all of those courses and combine them into a program. And as I said, the key sort of advantage of doing that is that you save yourself quite a bit of money doing it. So check those out if you can. Also, just a reminder, again, if you're not a sort of regular visitor to the website, you can try all these courses for free. All you need to do is register on the website. There's a tab on the website that says free course samples. Click on that, head through, and there's a whole series of tutorial videos like this, course notes, audio examples, that will give you a real flavour of what to expect on the courses. So yeah, maybe try that this weekend. They're all free. See how you get on, and if you've got any questions, myself and the course advice team are here to answer your questions. So, you know, drop us a line. You can contact us via the website, you can contact us by phone. So, you know, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Danny, how's it going?
Yeah, all right. I've found a couple of bits here. You might have been hearing it in the background, I don't know. So I've got a little conga thing that I'm going to record on, I think. So. So something like that, I think. So I'm just going to record that in. So yeah, just going to tidy that up, work out what was good, what wasn't. I'm probably going to leave that loose with no quantizing. Can't remember even when I started. Okay, so it's this one I want to start with. So that actually I feel needs quantizing. I'm just going to use the Command plus U. I don't like this one, so I'm going to just take that back up there. And what I like to do sometimes, if I've quantized something, I like to just shift the whole track over a bit. So the track delay, I'm going to use like a few milliseconds. So it's actually playing it 11 milliseconds later, so it's just kind of grooving it out a little bit more. And that could be nice to use on all kinds of stuff, maybe even on the bass. Yeah, back on the old tunes, sometimes the synchronization, it wasn't actually perfect between all the different devices because you had stuff chained over MIDI, and the further you got away from the original device, sort of the worse the timing was. So this kind of simulates that old kind of vibe. So yeah, I wanted to get the bells down as well. So there's a lot of percussive stuff going on here. Let's try and find where I stuck the bells, because I found two samples. Let me just get the rack up so I can see where I placed them. So I'm going to come down.
The only person who's asking questions at the moment is Terra Jumper,
Okay.
who is in Belgium. So yeah, hello to all our fans in Belgium. There's a few actually. There's we've had quite a few students enrolled from Belgium. So thanks Belgium. He was asking what's the difference between a good mixdown and mastering, and we offer courses in both. So yeah, it's not a stupid question. A lot of people kind of get confused between the difference between, you know, mixdown and mastering. So, Danny, do you want to tackle that one?
What was the question again? Sorry.
What's the difference?
Lost in music.
What's the difference between a good mixdown and mastering?
Well, I mean, these days, to be honest, it's kind of like blurring. Depends who you speak to. Some people would say that they should be two separate processes. The mixdown is kind of getting the track balanced as well as you can, and then in a way you should pass it on to a mastering engineer, and then the mastering engineer takes your good mix down and then they kind of top and tail it, make it so it's going to play it on a large variety of different systems and sound great. You know, that's the whole point in mastering. But a lot of people these days will sort of do this stuff as they go along, myself included. Even though for myself as a tutor, I recommend to my students that you learn the whole discipline of mixing as a separate entity and then mastering as separate as well. I'm just talking about my personal thing because I've done it for many years. So I can understand what I'm doing when I'm mixing and the implications it's going to have if I put things like a limiter on at the end and start working with those mastering elements whilst I'm working. I understand that. So for example, once I've got my settings, I'm not going to go and then turn my kick up really, really loud, because what's going to happen is it's going to be fighting with the compressor and limiter on the master. So these are all things that you've got to think about. So really the mix down is trying to get the track, all the elements all nice and tidy, the kick, the bass working really nicely, the synths, all those elements sitting together in the mix. Then you pass it over to the mastering stage. The mastering stage is about making sure it's nice and loud, plays on a good variety of systems, nice and cleanly, and that's the difference between the two.
I think that ties in with the courses as well. So if you look at the courses, there's separate courses in mixing and mastering, or you can do them as one of the programs I was talking about earlier. But we definitely recommend really that you've got a good grasp on mixing before you start thinking about mastering. Really, don't be in a rush to get to the mastering stage, because that's pretty much the most complex course that we do. So, and you will be expected to have a pretty kind of good grasp on the mixing process before you start tackling that kind of stuff. One other question that we get in pretty much every week is about third-party synths. So DJ Kohler was asking, what's your favourite third-party synth?
Well, I've been using the Korg M1 a lot. That's it's just because it's old school sounding. Because at the moment, there's a lot of people into this 90s sound. The Korg M1 has a distinctly 90s sound because, you recognise a lot of the presets. Everybody used, most people used to use presets of the Korg M1 back in the day, and so these sort of sounds have been put into our sort of DNA in a way. So you can listen to sounds on the M1 and it instantly sounds like it's from a period in time. So that's why I like it. That's why I really enjoy it. In terms of things like virtual analogs and stuff like that, I do really honestly tend to use the analog that you've got here. Where if I'm working with Logic, for example, the ES2, they're really good, analog synths that you can use. I don't feel I need to go off, using lots of others. If I want just a little synth bass line, I'll use the filters and envelopes to shape it and turn it into something that I want. And it'll be the same in Logic. Even the ES1, the ESM, the ESM's a wicked synth in Logic, which is just a basic mono synth that is perfect for bass lines and stuff like this. So for me, Korg M1 is my favourite.
Good, solid answer. Damien in Bali, really good to hear from you. Nice to know you're there, tuned in Indonesia. I'm keen to hear more about the programs, as I've got lots of experience with Ableton but struggle to finish arrangements. Sure, okay. So arrangement, composition, that side of things is something that we deal with in detail on the electronic music composition course. It's the newest course, well, one of the newest courses that we offer. It's been hugely popular since we launched it. So the first one runs this month. You can still enrol for July, and we'll be running it throughout the remainder of the year. But the purpose of that course is exactly what you're talking about. I think a lot of people who've got good kind of technical skills on their software struggle a little bit with the more sort of musical elements of their track, chords, progressions, and just kind of adding that extra sort of musical dimension to the tracks. I think the one of the side effects, if you like, of using software like Ableton is it's relatively easy to get well, as you've seen with Danny here today, it's relatively easy to get the sort of the beginnings of a track up and running pretty quickly, and you've got a nice groove that's just kind of moving along and the track starting to form. But then turning something like this, which is a sort of sketch, if you like, into a fully fledged track can be a bit more demanding. So this electronic music composition course is designed to guide you through that process, help you with arrangement, help you with composition, and also give you a few ideas for generating musical ideas that are going to, just lift your track out of, just being a sort of sketch or a groove or an idea and turn it into something that's, going to catch a DJ's ear and hold an audience, kind of on the dance floor, that kind of thing. Damien was also asking about sound design, which again is something you could include on a program. So the Ableton certificate program, for example, includes a sound design module, which is 8 weeks long. You could also add the electronic music composition course to that, and maybe throw in a mixing class as well. So as I mentioned earlier, that would give you a really good kind of comprehensive package on Ableton. But yeah, if you're an Ableton user, you should definitely check out that sound design course because it ties into what Danny was just talking about in terms of, starting to create your own sounds. There's some really powerful sound design tools within Ableton, and once you've learned how to use them, it means that perhaps you wouldn't be in such a rush to reach for a preset because you know you can get the sound that you're looking for using the instruments that you've got in Ableton. Just see if we've got any other questions. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, so DJ Kohler was back on asking about third-party plugins on the course. Generally speaking, we try and focus you on the kind of instruments and effects in the box. So if you're doing an Ableton sound design course, we'll try and show you how to get the most out of the sound design tools in Ableton. Likewise, if you're doing a Logic course, we'll try and focus on the synths and a sampler and so on that are native to Logic. We do look at other things as well. So I think the dubstep course has got some examples with Massive on it, and I think the Minimal Tech course has got things like Microtonic on it. So we do refer to them here and there, but essentially to do the course you don't need to run out and buy a whole bunch of plugins. If you're an Ableton Live user, you've got everything you need right there in the box. So we'll show you how to get the most out of that before you even start thinking about plugins really. We're approaching the end really, so
I just got to get my claps recorded.
Danny's got to get his...
I can't end the session without recording claps.
We've got to record some claps, folks.
So what I was going to say is that with programming, this is all really good, but to truly get an organic kind of sound, it's a good idea to record some stuff in. So this is a first for us on the Friday Forum Live, recording something. We're going to get the crew involved to create some claps. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to play the music because the situation we have here with the monitoring is it's all going to sort of feed back on itself. So I'm just going to literally record the audio. We're going to set this up, we're going to record, and we're going to see how it goes. If you guys want to be the clap people, I don't know if that's a real kind of technical term for that really, is it? So let's see what happens. This is far from the perfect recording situation, but if you guys could give me some clapping, just try and do it all at the right time. I'm just going to check my levels and stuff. So here we go. Give me some claps. In time. That's it. Okay. Right. Here we go. I'm going to record some stuff in. Maybe some finger snaps. Lovely. It's amazing. This is where the magic happens. Right, nice one. So, I've got some recording there. So,
it's a shame we can't record people that are watching live.
Yeah, that would be a real nice way to interact, wouldn't it? So I've got some stuff here. I'm just going to quickly tidy it up whilst you're sort of finishing off maybe. And
let's see if there's any final questions while Danny sorts out his dose of the clap. Some people say that Operator is better than the VST Massive. Like I was saying earlier on, I think if you learn to use the tools that you've got in Ableton, Logic, Cubase, they're all really, really powerful pieces of software these days. So you've got some brilliant sound design tools in there, and I think a lot of people do that thing that we all do and reach for a preset or reach for a sample pack, without really thinking about, well, can I get a better sound, or could I achieve this using the skills that I've got in Logic or Ableton? And we've all done it, but I think learning some sound design skills can be really, really useful because it just gives your projects a unique kind of flavour. You're not using the same sound as everyone else. So yeah, those courses on a personal level, those courses come really highly recommended. Because it can really help you to develop your own sound, basically, and also get a more in-depth understanding of some of the production skills. So yeah, let's just see if there's any final questions before Danny unleashes
the clap.
Unleashes the clap on an unsuspecting YouTube audience. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay.
Well, I'm just going to layer them in. I'd need more time to go through and pick the best ones here, but it's going to show you. Let's get the timing right. Let's move these over. Yeah, it's because I wasn't listening loud enough. I wasn't able to hear it properly, so I'm just going to move this. Or these performers, they're not doing a particularly good job. Let's just bring this back a bit. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to focus on that first one. I just want to show you, the reason why this actually feels and sounds good is because it's not just one clean clap. It's the fact that there's several claps, one after another, creates this nice kind of loose groove. So if you just focus on here, just to finish off, and I'll just bring that down. So it just adds a nice little kind of live element to it. So that's what I'd encourage you guys to do. If you're trying to recreate that kind of a sound, get a mic, record some claps, get a nice collection of them and just go and edit them down properly afterwards. I haven't got enough time to do that here, but it's a nice extra texture. Right.
Okay, so yeah, we're just about to finish up. So I'm going to give you some homework to do over the weekend. And your homework is to, if you haven't already, go and check out those free sample courses that I was talking about earlier on. Have a look through. There's loads of different ones to choose from. So whatever style of music you're into, you should find something to, kind of tickle your fancy. So yeah, go and try some over the weekend. If you've got any questions, I'm David. You can email me direct via the website. There's also a team of course advisors that work with me, and we're here to answer any questions you've got about the courses. So if you're listening to what we've been talking about today and thinking, well, I'm not sure if this is the right course or that's the right course, we'd love to hear from you, and we'll be happy to sort of, explain in more detail how, each of the classes work. We'll be back again next Friday, 1 p.m. So if there's anything you'd like to see on the Friday Forum Live, in terms of demonstrations, or if there's any kind of insights into the courses that you'd like to see or hear about, then let us know. Again, you can do that via the website, you can do it via Facebook, you can do it in the comments here once this YouTube broadcast gets archived. So whichever way you want to get in touch, we'd love to hear from you.
Live. Yeah.
Thanks for coming along.